Hello, this is Terry from Fabric Junction in Sturgis, South Dakota. Today we're going to make a self-binding receiving blanket. And I like to make mine as big as I can get from the fabric. So I discovered that if I cut a 42-inch square and a 32-inch square, I get a very nice size of a finished receiving blanket. I will show you first how to cut your square. This is going to be my back fabric and my border. And the fabric is already folded in half the way it comes off the bolt. All I do is fold it one more time so that I have it quartered. I line up the folded edge and my edges. This edge and this edge does not have to be perfect because that's the reason we're squaring up. But you like to get this one here as straight as you can, that folded edge, and this is your folded edge. Now you don't want to make the mistake and cut those sides. So I put those towards the outer part of my board where I'm going to cut. Now to get a 42-inch square, I have to cut on 21. But I have a hard time seeing the numbers and lining them up. So I tend to move everything in 1 inch. And when I do that, the important thing is to remember, you moved it in 1 inch both directions. So you're actually going to square up on 22. If that's confusing, go ahead and stay the other way or mark it, whatever works for you. But this is the way I can see both my lines here and my lines here to keep my straight edge straight. So I cut, and then I come over here and I find 22. I can see my line on this end. Whoops. I can see it on this end, and that helps me stay straight whenever I do my cutting. I have to get my scissors because I didn't feel my blade hit absolutely every spot. And as you can see, if it doesn't, you just take your scissors and clean those couple of places off. If I go over with my cutter a few more times, I end up kind of chopping things up, and I don't want to do that. As long as I have it folded in quarters, now I know where my center of each piece is. So I place the pin. I keep that center, and I place my pins so I don't have to refold and redo to find, because I've already got them. So I pin my center on that side, and I pin my center on this fold. Now when I cut my smaller piece, what becomes the main part of the blanket, I do it exactly 10 inches smaller. If you cannot get 42 inches out of your piece of flannel, that's okay. If you get 41, cut your next square 31. This one has already been cut and pinned. Once that's done, the next thing to do is mark your intersection on your piece. Now I use a 1/4 inch seam allowance, so I will take my ruler and I will measure in a 1/4 inch and draw a line with a pencil. I go to the other side and do the same thing. It creates a nice X. This is the spot that we will start and stop our sewing. We do not want to go beyond that point. Once I have all 4 marked, I open up my 2 pieces of flannel and I place right sides together. I match up my pins, I pin it together, I take the second pin and I go very smooth. If you want to pin this, go ahead. I tend to not use a lot of pins, so I put that one right there. I do this all the way around the quilt. I grab that spot, I go to my left, and I just follow up nice and smooth, and I stick in a pin. Now, as you're pinning, you'll notice nothing seems to want to finish off quite the way we're used to seeing it. But that is okay. This is our goal, to have it look kind of funny. So now once we have it pinned, I go to my sewing machine, and where that intersection is, that's where I drop my needle. So I slowly find that intersection, the very, very center of that intersection, and that's where I want to sew. If you want to back stitch, you can. It won't hurt, but just don't go clear back too far. A couple of stitches back is okay. I do my 1/4 inch seam. I don't sew over top of my pins. It's not something I care to do. I tend to break my needles. But I line up my fabric, and now I'm going to the next intersection. Okay, as I get closer to the intersection, I start to slow down, because my goal is to have the needle stop right on that cross. Perfect. And then go back a couple stitches, take it off, come off the machine, turn your fabric again towards you, and you can see it. Now you tip the one fabric out of the road, because you don't want to sew on this background. This is the piece you need to tip back. Line this up on the new corner. This is what you're going to have, that funny little tail. That's okay. Line up nice and straight, and again line your needle right up on that cross. Once you have it lined up, like I said, you can stitch forward 4 or 5 stitches, go back 1 or 2, just so that you don't cross your intersection. Now this time as you sew, you need a section so that you can get in there and turn it. So part way down, I stop. I go about a hand's distance, because I'm going to need to get my hand in there. I line it up again, and then I continue to sew to the end. I continue until I have all 4 sides completed. Once all 4 sides are completed, then it's time to take care of those funny corners. And this is how we do that. You have all 4 sides, you've got a little opening somewhere. Now you take it and fold it. Those seams that you just sewn, that's what you're folding. Line up the two seams that you stitched here. Here's this little guy. Not always does he line up perfect, but you line it up the best you can. Fabric shifts when you're sewing. Important thing is get this one here lined up nice and even. This one here will lay flat. Once you have that, take your pencil right where you start and stop. You can see where your seam is underneath there. And it'll be actually right where your fabric, it'll be right here, right where the fabric starts. Put your pencil, line up your straight edge with a straight line at the bottom fold, which is towards your body. Pick a line, line it up, the pencil's placed, you've got a straight line at the bottom, and I draw a line. Now this line we're going to sew on this line, and the key to this then is right at the start of that pencil is where you'll start sewing. Drop your needle right at that very top. Once again, if you want to back stitch, you sure can. And then sew off the fabric. I think I have one more left on this little guy. There he is. And we line up our fabric. Get it to lay out nice and smooth. Again, my pencil goes right where my stitching head stopped. I line up straight across the bottom, line towards my body, and I sew. Okay, to double check that you know you have your corners right, you can open it up, and if everything wants to fold inward, if these parts here want to fold inward like this, you know you have your corner right. I like to check that because sometimes I do get it going the wrong way. Cut off all your little dog ears. And if you want, you can even do another little trim in the corner. It'll help your corners be just a little bit smoother. So we get our corners all trimmed. And now it's time to turn it. So we stick our hand in, grab, and turn. And anytime you turn, it always looks like a wadded up mess, but you know you're getting it. Just take your time and it'll just keep coming. Okay. Once it's turned, we need to poke out our corners. Sometimes I just use my finger, I'll get it to poke out. A lot of times I use my tweezers. But you just want to go around, poke out the corners, and then you're going to press. Lay it out and I start in a corner, and I can see that basically my fabric on both sides is the same. If you're concerned about it, you can measure it to make sure that they start out the same, and then press. Now when you get to your opening, a lot of times one fabric wants to lay one way and the other one will lay the other way. So once I'm at the opening, I'm going to press some of the other stuff around it. I pressed one fabric in, and the other one I am going to fold so it lays right over the top. So I fold it in, one little corner that there it went, it just did not want to lay like it should. There we go. Once you get it to lay, give it a good pressing, and then I stick a couple pins in it because I want to know where this spot is, so when I do sew it, I know that's where my opening was, and I want to make sure that the stitch is going to catch it. So I continue to press all the way around. Once I have pressed it, then I'm ready to go and do a decorative stitch. So pick out something fun, something simple, whatever kind of stitch that you would like, and stitch around the quilt right on that seam. So you want to make sure you have a stitch that catches both sides. So any kind of decorative stitch or just a zigzag, if you're practicing for the first time, a zigzag is a good one. That's what I have set up on here. And as you go, it'll catch both sides of the fabric and keep everything in place. Go all the way around your quilt, and then your blanket will be done. And here at Fabric Junction, we have made many of the different ones, and we do have them as kits available online, all done with different stitches, fun fabrics for the new baby. So have fun making your self-binding receiving blanket, and I hope we hear from you. Thank you for watching.